What is the date? December 12th. I will call this meeting to order, the Board of County Commissioners meeting. First, I'll start with reading the public charge. The Board of Commissioners asks its members and citizens to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with the board and fellow citizens. At any time, should any member of the board or citizen fail to observe this public charge, the chair will ask the offending person to leave the meeting until that individual regains personal control. Should decorum fail to be observed, the chair will recess the meeting until such time that a genuine commitment to the public charge is observed. I will ask, Commissioner Burns, if you will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Thank you. Are there any agenda adjustments, commissioners? Hearing none, I'm going to turn it over to our clerk for the announcements, and I believe you want to make an announcement to the public about calling in.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. For those that are attending online, I will just ask that you raise your hand. The mics are muted, so if you raise your hand, then I'll be able to acknowledge you and pull you up on our screen. I will read the announcements for tonight's December 12th meeting. DECO Public Health COVID-19 Vaccination Clinic hours. The COVID-19 vaccination clinic at the Durham County Department of Public Health, located at 414 East Main Street, have the following walk-in hours to get your free vaccination: Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday, 9 a.m. to 5:45 p.m. All approved doses are available. Please note clinics are closed between 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. daily and on Saturday and Sunday. You can visit decopublichealth.org or call 919-560-9217 for more information. Get your flu shot at DECO Department of Public Health. Flu shots are available by appointment. You can call 919-560-7608 to schedule your appointment today. Most private insurance fully covers the cost of flu shots. Shots are available for free for some eligible individuals. Please visit decopublichealth.org/flu season or call 919-560-7608 for more information. NC Homeowner Assistance Fund, NCHAF, is available for homeowners to help prevent mortgage delinquencies, defaults, displacements, and foreclosures due to COVID-19. To qualify, you must be past due on your mortgage by at least 30 days. For more information and to apply, please visit www.nchaf.gov. Volunteers are needed for the Durham Food Security Network. The Durham Food Security Network is looking for people with experience in farming or in the food industry to fill open seats for its steering committee. There is a stipend of $50 per meeting, and the deadline to apply is December 31st by 11:59 p.m. There is a website that you can click to apply for. Solarize the Triangle deadline is December 31st. Solarize the Triangle is a community-based group buying program developed by 11 local Triangle governments. to enroll over 1,000 residents and businesses seeking proposals for solar energy systems. You can sign up for free for an assessment by visiting www.solarizethetriangle.com and get on the road to discounted solar energy. The Durham Winter Holiday Parade is on December 17th. Kick off the holiday season at the Durham Holiday Parade in downtown Durham on Saturday, December 17th. Cheer on dynamic floats, hometown bands, drill teams, schools, and community groups as they make their way down Main Street at the Durham Holiday Parade. The procession will conclude with a guest appearance from Santa. This is a free event and will be held rain or shine. Seating is not provided. Spectators are encouraged to bring their own chairs and blankets. The parade begins at 10 a.m. For more information, please visit dprplaymore.org. Sign up for City County Planning Notification Service. The Durham City County Planning Department invites all residents interested in staying informed about upcoming zoning and other land use public hearings to sign up for its public notification service. You will receive a weekly email notification with upcoming announcements, scheduled public hearings, and major site plans. Please sign up, and there is a website for you to click there. The Low Income Energy Assistance Program, LIEAP, kicks off December 1st for applicants 60 and over, those with disabilities and who receive food and nutrition services. Residents can call 919-560-8192 to make a virtual appointment with the Department of Social Services. On January 3rd, 2023, all Durham residents may apply online. The website is www.epass.nc.gov, and the program ends March 31st, 2023. And lastly, your input is needed. The Regional Transportation Planning Agency is conducting a study on the US 70 East Corridor, and your input is needed. There are 2 virtual sessions held on December 13th and 15th from 5:30 till 6:30 p.m., and 1 in-person meeting held on December 17th from 11 a.m. till noon. The survey must be complete by January 6, 2023. And for additional details on how to complete the survey, you can visit, there is a website here as well. All of the links can be accessed online as well as in our agenda packet virtually. That concludes the announcement.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. All of these announcements, as she stated, are on our website, that you can go on the website and find them. Is Gudrun here? I don't see her. She's out this week. I thought it might be useful to have someone talk about the survey that's gone out to the public about COVID, not COVID, the opioid survey. So the manager, would you talk a little bit about that, just so that the public know that the survey's out there?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, as a part of the funding that we will receive from the opioid settlement, we will be getting a little over $11 million over an 18-year period. And a part of the requirements indicate that we solicit community feedback on how we will spend the settlement funds. And so Gudrun has worked with some of our outside partners to create a survey that is posted on the Durham County website. We have an opioid webpage, and it provides information about the opioid settlement. And as a part of that webpage, there is a link to the survey. We would ask that as many people as can to actually go out there and take the survey, and would really like to hear from those who are in the community that service those who have substance abuse disorder. So we would really like to hear from you. After we complete the survey, I think the survey will be out through the middle of January. I think it's January 16th. Then we will take the input that we've received, and we're planning to have an in-person town hall as well as a virtual town hall to discuss the feedback that we've received from this survey, and to receive further input on how we can utilize the opioid settlement.
Thank you. Given that this is our last meeting for the year, are there any comments or anything that you'd like to announce? Commissioner Jacobs?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first of all, well, thank you for the opportunity, Madam Chair. I would just say that I wish everybody a wonderful, happy, and healthy holiday. And thank you especially to all of our staff for everything that you do for people in our community every day. So thank you. And I do my announcement that I did want to share is not a happy one, but I think it's important milestone to take note of that was shared out through Bike Durham that unfortunately we had another person in our community that was killed by hit and run on a bike last Thursday. And we have, as we look back on the year, there have been 22 people in our community that have been killed either on a bike, a pedestrian, or through being a driver or a passenger in a car. And it's something that we often don't think about or maybe know about. It's really an increasing problem in our community. We actually had last Sunday, Cheryl Robardier, age 61, was hit and killed riding her bike on 98 near Neal Middle School. And on Thursday, John Sullivan, age 84, was struck and killed just before 6 p.m. on Snow Hill Road, right near Little River K-8 school. Both of them hit and run. So just wanted to lift up these people in our community. And this is something that we can do something about, and we all need to do something about as a community. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for lifting them up. And, you know, the holidays is the worst time for families. The grieving process is just unbelievable to know that you're looking across the table and that chair is empty. So my heart and thoughts go out to the families because this is a tough time of the year too. Any time is tough, but the holidays are especially tough. And the other thing, okay, and I'll come right to you. The employees, Commissioner Jacobs and I both missed. Sounds like it was a great party, and we hate that we missed it in celebrating the employees' retiree party, celebration, all that. And I hate that we missed it, but we were both had to be in other places, and we hope to be there next year. Commissioner Alum.
Thank you, Chair Howerton. I just have 3 announcements slash things for maybe the new year for us to look forward to. One, for this month, I would just like to thank all of our staff and, as Commissioner Jacobs mentioned, for all of the work you do and staying late in these meetings with us every other Monday or so. But also wishing, since we won't be here, a very happy holidays and birthday to my colleague, my fellow December colleague, Commissioner Burns, since we won't be here to celebrate together. And also, some things for us to look in the new year I think would be really great is, most of us were at Congressman Price's reception this evening of a way for us to honor him and celebrate him with a resolution in the new year would be really wonderful. As well as I know Attorney Darby is going to be retiring, and we won't be able to see him before his official retirement date, but in the new year, hopefully there's a way we can find to celebrate him and thank him for his service to Durham County.
Thank you, Commissioner Alum. And we're going to ask Deborah to sometime in the coming year to help us plan something here so that Durham can acknowledge him as well. Anything else? All right, if not, we will go to, I didn't see your hand. Did you have your hand?
The only thing I want to throw out there, I'm really proud of this staff. I'm hopeful that this board can live up to the expectations next year. There's you all, just the output of your work. Like I said, at Employee Appreciation, I'm only braggadocious because you all just do so well. The day y'all stop doing great, I won't have anything to talk about. Because we're not talking about ourselves, we're talking about y'all. And so I do hope that you all can see that appreciation, no matter what happens up here, no matter what happens in the media. I do want you all to have a happy holiday. And as we look to transition and people make different steps, I hope that we can keep as many of you all with us as possible. There was about 80 people that retired, and I'm hopeful that we can fill that gap. So please tell your friends that Durham, the award-winning staff of Durham County, is always looking for talent. Also, be good to yourselves and be good to your colleagues. Like my boss said at the me today, and I thought that was just such an awesome message. When I was at Employee Appreciation, the first name I saw on the list was Laura Seiler. That let me know everybody doesn't get the retirement. So while we're on this break, I would just ask, be good to yourselves, be good to your families, and come back and be prepared to be good to each other. And I hope we can reflect that. And my only announcement, please, especially to all the A&T folks here who won't be at the Celebration Bowl, Perry and Dr. Sowell, please make sure to cheer on NCCU as we take on the Jackson State Jaguars this weekend. I told Larissa I'd make sure to get that one in. So the last game of the season, so please cheer on the home team as we go down to Atlanta, hopefully to come back with the trophy.
I will be attending the Celebration Bowl to cheer on our NCCU Eagles, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, Madam Chair, I hate to not say something here as well, since everyone else has. I didn't know that we were having this opportunity to make a statement, right, to our staff and to the public. But I would just say, if I had known, I would have brought my ukulele and we could have had a reprise of county staff. You're the bomb. So we'll save that for another time, though.
Thank you.
Anyway,
We don't
county
need the
staff, you are the
ukulele.
bomb.
We don't
Happy
need
holidays.
the ukulele.
All right. We will move on, commissioners. Okay. Our next item on the agenda is the minutes. We have minutes for November 7th and December 5th, the work session, and November 28th, one of our regular meetings. Are there any edits or any comments about the meeting, about the minutes? If not, I will ask for a motion for approval.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes.
Okay,
Second.
it is been moved and properly second. We'll have a roll call by the clerk.
Commissioner Alam,
Aye.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter, Vice Chair Jacobs,
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye, the minutes have been approved unanimously. Commissioners, we are at our consent agenda. We have 24 items on the agenda. If commissioners would like to pull any items to place at the end of the meeting, please let me know. And in the meantime, I'll have our manager go through those. I know we want to pull one item that I need to pull, and that is 220726. We will pull that one and place it at the end. Okay. Are there any others that need to be pulled? Mr. Jacobs?
Madam Chair, I didn't want to pull any. I just wanted to note two that weren't on our work session, but I think are important. 0733, the $50,000 for Meals on Wheels, and the $186,000 for Kate's Corner,
Mhm.
daycare at Durham Tech. I just wanted to highlight those because they're so important, and anything that comments you wanted to share about them, Madam Manager. But I think I just wanted to really highlight them since we didn't discuss them at the work session, but the community certainly
Anybody
benefits
here?
from them.
There's no one here with that, representing that, so, if you don't want to pull them, I won't. Okay. Commissioner Burns? Was that the only one you had, Commissioner Jacobs? I'm sorry. Okay.
30 seconds, Madam Chair. That's all, I promise. I thank you to Monica and Claudia for reaching back out and letting me know about these two that did get added. I did just want to also shout out those two and thank the staff for bringing these forth. I'm thankful that we have a board that would approve those. But just look at these as investments. There's also another one up there about food. These are our continued investments in making sure that people are fed and making sure that we support the community. And the last little 10 seconds, if you right now, JB Buxton is not here, but you can go to Durham Tech right now. If you graduate from Durham Public Schools, if you're not 26, and it's almost free. If you're older than that, they cover up to 80% of it. And then here it is, if you're worried about daycare, guess what? We got daycare. If you're worried about how you're gonna make money and still go to school, guess what? This board is paying for the Bulls Initiative. If you're worried about where you're gonna live and what now we're building affordable housing right over there. So I just want people, I know you can't see it in this one document, but this is a holistic plan to support the community's educational endeavors, food endeavors, and also support for children. So thank you to this board for kind of sort of closing that loop on that level of support. And just know that we, from an economic development standpoint, we recognize it's not just about bringing in companies, but making sure that we can give those companies whole people. And this is how we put a bow on that.
So if it's agreeable with the board, this may be one that in the coming year that we can ask for a presentation so that we are all updated as to how things are going with our little ones and the support that we're giving. And I'm sure that the president of Durham Tech would be more than happy to oblige. So if there are no other items that need to be pulled, I will ask the board for a motion to approve all items, starting with 220635 down to 220734, with an exception of 22026.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda absent 0222026.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second to approve all the consent items except for 220726. Roll call by the clerk.
Commissioner Long,
Aye.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter, Vice Chair Jacobs,
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. Approved unanimously. So I'm going to go ahead and do 220726 before we go to the public hearing. And I pulled that when Commissioner Indira is here to speak on that one. Yeah. You'll come to the mic, yes.
Good evening. Jim Groves, your Emergency Services Director. Hope everyone's having a great evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share about this. I'm going to introduce our Chief Emergency Manager, Elizabeth Schroeder. I think this is the first time that she's been introduced to the board, and I asked her to talk about the grant and She's done all the work with Duke Energy and Indira.
And good evening, commissioners. Good evening, manager. As Jim mentioned, my name is Elizabeth Schrader. I'm the Chief of Emergency Management for Durham County in the city of Durham. I'd also like to thank Indira for the generous donation of $25,000 to support our drone program. And we would like to request that you all accept this donation on behalf of our division. We are hoping to use this drone program to expand a lot of our capabilities in the community, to enhance our situational awareness, to provide assistance with our search and rescue operations. You all may be aware we had a search and rescue operation back in October. This would have been very useful both during our day and our nighttime operations. This will also enhance some of our other capabilities, including our hazmat operations, as well as supporting some of our planned special events. Indira?
Good evening, and thank you, commissioners, for this opportunity. It is a delight to be before you again. As Elizabeth said, Duke Energy has been working closely with all of our emergency management partners, even more so now than ever. And one of the things I like to lift up is collaboration. We look for great partners to collaborate with, and Durham County has certainly been that. And so they, among 23 other organizations, were recognized for the great work that they do, and each of them received $25,000, totaling $750,000 that we've awarded in the last month, just to our partners around emergency management. It's a pleasure. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Elizabeth through email, and so it's a delight to see her tonight. We appreciate her support and the support of your staff for our recent storm preparedness event that was held at City Hall. We had representation there and a great, again, collaboration. And so we want to award you with the $25,000 to help you further your efforts, but to continue to be a great partner for us at Duke Energy. We certainly appreciate the work you do every day. We understand it uniquely because we are out there on the front lines with you. We consider you first responders, and we're standing there to help support you in any way we can. And so I would like to present this ceremonial check of $25,000 to you.
We're always accept money. We need to come around. You need to come around. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Okay, we're coming. You gotta put the shoes back. Y'all go ahead. Mm-mm. So I want to say again, thank you so much. Thank you, Jim, for bringing this to us. And Elizabeth, welcome. And Indira, we always love to see money. Thank you so much. That is just, and that's a good way to start the holidays. Any comments from commissioners? All right. They're taking the check? Okay. All right. So I will need a motion. Oh. Okay, I got it. Yeah, I will need a motion to approve this item 220726.
So move.
Been moved and properly second. Roll call by the clerk.
Commissioner Alam. Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. Been approved unanimously. Our next item, Commissioners, is a public hearing. 220701 is a public hearing for Little Acres Drive repairs. Final assessment resolution for Little Acres Drive repairs and budget ordinance amendment number 23 BCC 00052, approximating $200,000 of general fund balance for the Transportation Fund Center for Little Acres Drive repair. The board is requested to hold a public hearing for repairs to Little Acres Drive, approve a final assessment resolution for repairs to Little Acres Drive, and approve budget ordinance amendment number 23 BCC 00053, approximating $250,000 of general fund balance to the Transportation Fund Center for repairs to the road. Ellen Beckman, there she is here from the County Transportation Manager to present this item.
Yeah, thank you. Ellen Beckman, Transportation Manager. I'm actually going to turn it over to Jay Gibson, who's up on our big screen, to give a few introductory remarks, but I'm also here to answer questions.
Commissioners, Chair Howerton, good evening. Good evening, Commissioners. We hope everyone's doing well. And staff is very pleased to bring this item to you tonight. We have been working on this for quite a bit of time now, and first wish to thank the residents of Little Acres for their patience and support of staff as we've worked through this process, and most notably Ms. Laura Wheeler, who has been our key point of contact with the neighborhood throughout. Tonight, we are glad to have this first big step in front of you for moving towards a significant resolution to assist the Little Acres community. They have been dealing with a road that is in very ill repair. I've been through there several times, and it desperately needs some help. They have petitioned the county and asked for certain help pursuant to the Orphan Roads policy that this board adopted back in February. And we now wish to move forward with that by holding the public hearing, requesting the board to adopt the final assessment resolution that will authorize us to go to work, and then finally the appropriation of the funds, as the chair noted, to help fund the work moving forward. With that, I will call on Ellen for any further details, and we'd ask that the board convene the public hearing.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. So as Jay stated, this follows our adopted policy that was approved back in February. Little Acres is our first project. A petition was circulated amongst the neighborhood. 11 of the 12 property owners have signed the petition, which meets the minimum requirement of state statute and consistent with our policy. So there's a very specific state statute that outlines how we do this, and it requires a public hearing, requires this assessment resolution. There will be upon approval, there will be work to competitively bid and construct the project. And then later, it would ultimately come back at the completion with a final approval of the assessment roll. And it would then be able to be collected same manner as property.
Okay. Thank you, Ellen, and the rest of the staff. This has been a long time, a lot of work, and getting this to this far. Commissioners, are there any comments or questions from you regarding this item? Commissioner Potter?
Would you like us to ask the questions now, I guess, before the hearing of staff? Or
Yeah, for staff, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. See, what is the question exactly? So this is our first orphan road, as you said, Ellen, and 11 out of 12 signed the petition. I was a little bit concerned, and I talked to you right before the meeting, and I think there's some information worth sharing that the one resident, or the owner who didn't sign, it wasn't necessarily that they were opposed to it; they just didn't sign. And so, I don't know whether we want any more information about that or not, but that was of concern to me, and I feel less concerned about it now after having talked to Ellen. Also, when the petition was circulated, the cost was much lower, and I just wonder about that, the dramatic increase in the expected cost of this road improvement and what that would mean for the individual homeowners. When they signed the petition, they were agreeing, I guess, to pay back the county, but it was a much reduced rate. And does that impact the process at all? Have we heard any concern from the residents with the new cost expectation? I guess that's my main question. Does the fact that the cost has gone up, worry residents? And if so, do we ask again? Do they still agree to this, or if the first time around the petition is adequate?
So when the petition was circulated, we had received a cost estimate from NCDOT that the project construction cost would be about $110,000. We have realized that did not include some of the costs that are necessary to help prepare the construction documents and do the inspections and materials testings that's necessary. So that does add on additional cost. The other thing is just the construction market and the costs generally that are happening in the construction market for cost escalation. And then thirdly, the other factor that is influencing the cost to residents if they choose to finance the project and pay it back over time is the interest rate, which, as everyone knows, interest rates have increased significantly since May. So all of that did contribute to higher costs than what we circulated. We do feel like 200,000 is a conservative estimate, and hopefully it will be less. When the petition was circulated, it did clearly state that this was an estimate and it's really subject to change. Residents are asked to pay the actual cost of whatever the project is. Our policy requires that. In this situation, a lot of things are combining to increase the cost from what was circulated, but to treat all residents fairly, and make sure that we have a consistent policy that can apply to this project and future projects, we are asking for that $200,000 budget amendment.
Right. And so I guess maybe my question will be answered during the public hearing. If there's anyone here who is concerned that the cost of the assessment to the individual is going to increase from something like $9,000 to $16,000, that's the estimate, right? That's a big difference. So anyway, I was just wondering if I have not heard from any resident who's opposed to it. I've heard from several who are very much in favor of it. Yeah. And so I just wanted to see if anyone else had heard, any concerns about the increase in the cost, and did that change the resident's mind in any way? We'll hear that during the public hearing, I assume. So that's
And
my
and
question.
Commissioners, if I could make a comment here, Commissioner Carter, one thing to your point, we have seen some escalation. We are trying to err on the side of safety with the estimate, as Ellen indicated. I think one thing we've all noted recently is the price of gasoline coming down. And that is good news, hopefully. We'll see when we actually get the bids. But a paving contract such as this one is primarily a petroleum contract, from the asphalt to the diesel to run the equipment and so forth. And so we are, while we don't have any assurance until we open the bids, we are very hopeful that we will see prices moving back to a little better state than what our worst case currently is.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, if not, we will open the public hearing and acknowledge the individuals that have signed up. I only have one person that's signed up, Laura Wheeler. If you'd like to speak, if you'll go to the microphone and give your name and address, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Laura Wheeler. I live at 1207 Little Acres Drive in Durham, sorry. I just wanted to say that this is a huge milestone for me. Jay and I have been working on this for over 3 years now with John Sander at the NCDOT and also Ellen. And so I'm very happy to be in front of you right now to ask you to help us move forward with this road improvement project. I'm a little bit nervous, as you can probably hear in my voice, but we are a little bit concerned about the price escalation, but I think I can speak for myself and my neighbors in saying that the road improvement project is desperately needed, and if it means that we have to spend a little bit more money, we're willing to do so. We just don't have all of us together, the resources or the knowledge really to get this done on our own. So that's why we need help from the government in order to finance it. Certain people will certainly probably just pay as a lump sum up front. Other people will need to finance, which is fine, and they're all aware of that. The one person who didn't sign the petition, I actually spoke with him on the phone, and like you said, he said as long as the rest of us wanted to go forward with it, he wouldn't object. His major concern was more or less like financing it and getting involved with the special tax assessment and that type of thing, not so much the cost of it or moving forward with going ahead and paying for it. So I feel confident that all of the residents are in line with this and on board with this, and I guess no one's objecting to it, so that's the good news. But I just wanted to say thank you to Jay and Ellen and everyone who's worked on this, because they've been really helpful over the last 3 years to get this done, and it would be a really nice present for me and my neighbors to go into the new year knowing that this road will get fixed, because I think Jay said the first time he ever drove down the road, he was happy to have been in his Jeep because he wouldn't have made it down the road without it. So that's all. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions, commissioners? Commissioner Carter?
We did try to find the developer and hold the developer accountable for the cost.
He's passed. Yeah, he's passed away.
Okay, then.
Yes, we've actually, as a neighborhood, explored many options over the course of the years. I've lived there. Oh, do you want me to stop? I've lived there for 15 years. My husband's lived there for 25 years. Some neighbors have lived there even longer. And over the course of those years, we've gotten estimates. We've gotten extreme estimates where we thought it was just there's no way to move forward. But there's no homeowners association. It's really just a small group of homeowners, and so we don't have like the mechanism in place in order to move forward with this. So that's why about 3 years ago, a friend of mine who actually used to live on the road and who works for the government suggested that I reach out to you. She said that she thought that maybe there was a pathway forward through the county government, and hopefully this orphan roads policy will be that path.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Wheeler.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the line
No, Chair Howerton, we do not have anyone else
that wants to speak?
that would like to speak, correct?
Okay. So if there are no other speakers, any questions from commissioners for Ms. Wheeler? All right, then I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the Board of Commissioners. And if there are there any other additional comments? Commissioner Jacobs?
Thank you. Well, I just have a few comments. One is, I want to say at this moment, this is when government works. Thank you to you, Ms. Wheeler, and your neighbors for, coming to government and asking for help with something. And thank you to Jay and Ellen and our staff and NCDOT, everyone who worked on this, to develop a new policy. The orphan roads policy is a brand new policy that our board adopted, thanks to the help of our staff. And I'm really glad that we could all work together for a solution. This is a problem. I know it happens often within the city limits that developers do not fulfill all of their obligations. In this case, this is out in the county. From the emails that we got many emails from your neighbors as well that describe pretty horrific road conditions. So, and that's a safety issue. That is really a safety issue. So I want to just acknowledge this moment that we're in, and also that I know this is expensive, but our staff is also going to, my understanding, Ellen, you and Jay, you can correct me, that we're providing free all of the work to manage this process. There's no fee for the residents. Is that correct? I just want to confirm that.
Yeah, it will only be the contracted costs, so no internal, staff time cost.
Right. So I think that's important. Jay, did you want to say something?
Thank you, Vice Chair. My comment was similar to Ellen's. Our staff time will just be absorbed, and there will be no bill back for that.
Right.
The only external cost will be for the contractor and any necessary testing required by NCDOT, and we will do that at whatever level we have to and not beyond that to make sure the road can be accepted onto the state system.
Right. So I just want to acknowledge to thank staff, because it will take a lot of management and coordination, and with the tax department and NCDOT, and that Durham County government is going to provide those services to you all. So I understand when you say that it's overwhelming to try to do something. I live on a dirt gravel road, so I understand that feeling. And again, just want to thank everyone, and look forward to seeing what the road looks like. Well, you have to share that with us, the before and after pictures. Thank you.
I would just say congratulations to the Little River neighborhood. You all sound like you've got a lot of chutzpah and figured out how to, solve this problem. So, way to go. Sounds like a nice place to live.
Commissioner Blum?
Thank you so much for sticking through this process for so many years. I can imagine that was very stressful and could also be very deterring, but you stuck through with it. I'm wondering for Jay and Ellen, now that we've been through this process with this neighborhood, how that may impact and for future instances if community members have a similar situation. Will this, having gone through this, learning through this process, will it make it faster for future projects, or is it going to be the same because it's NCDOT?
No, good question. There's actually another neighborhood has reached out to me with this similar problem. So there may be another one coming. We wanted to make sure we got this process down and, figured out first before we initiated with that other neighborhood. I do think it will go much more smoothly, and we'll be able to include some of those costs that we realize now, we should have probably included in that first cost when the petition was circulated. Some of the policy, I think, could be fine-tuned to just be a little bit more clear to residents what the steps are and everything now that we've worked out some of the kinks and how it all needs to be done in accordance with state statutes and coordinated with budget and legal and all that. So yes, I think it will go more smoothly in future projects.
Well, then thank you again for helping your Durham County neighbors.
Yeah, they've been very patient with me. Laura's been very patient. There's been several times where I've had to tell her we're still working out the process and figuring everything out. And, many other departments have weighed in and contributed to this as well.
If none, and just for the staff and for the residents, we are glad we are able to intervene here. I know that normally it's not something that we get involved in. It has to do with roads, but I'm happy that we were able to assist in this instance. And I'm sure that there will be others that we can work with. So kudos to the staff that they worked so hard to get this done. And I know it looked like it was a long, long time, and it was. So, Merry Christmas. So, Commissioners, we have only one motion here, and if I can get someone, if you have the motion in front of you, if you will read the motion to approve the resolution.
I just want to clarify, do we do the resolution and the budget amendment together or separate?
Do you have the language? If not, I'll read it to you. So the motion is to approve a final assessment resolution for repairs to Little Acres Drive and approve the budget ordinance amendment number 23 BCC 00052 appropriating $200,000 of general fund balance to the Transportation Fund Center for repairs to the road. That is the motion. Moved and properly second. And is there another conversation? There's a motion on the floor. What?
I was just trying to get clarification if it was one or two, since one is a resolution and one is a budget amendment.
It's included, Ellen, it's all included in one motion.
It's one motion with both of those parts in there.
Okay. So it's been moved and properly second to approve the motion, and we need a roll call by the clerk.
Commissioner Lam.
Aye.
Commissioner Burns.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Carter. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. Motion has been approved 5-0. Thank you. The next item is 220718. It's our American Rescue Plan Act update and approval. And I believe General Manager Claudia Hager and staff will do this presentation.
Good afternoon or good evening, Commissioners. I trust you are well, Manager so well. As we are going to walk through the American Rescue Plan Act proposed allocations. These were discussed at your work session, and so we'll go through pretty quickly. We'll give some highlights on ARPA, as well as walk through the recommendations, share some next steps in board discussion. Quick reminders, the allocations from the American Rescue Plan Act must be incurred and obligated by December 31st, 2024. That means you have to have a contract. By December 31st, 2026, all funds must be expended to cover obligations and all work must be completed. There were 6 categories established for spending the dollars, including the public health response, the response to replacing revenue loss, water and sewer infrastructure support, to address negative economic impacts, premium pay for essential workers, and broadband infrastructure. These were the initial areas which were expanded as U.S. Treasury gave further guidelines. The board also established guiding principles on how the dollars would be spent, and those framework directives helped to shape the guiding document that was adopted by the board in May of 2022, which established strategies on how the board would address the use of funds in tactical, strategic ways. The allocations totaled $62.4 million and aligned, of course, with the Treasury guidelines, but also aligned with the board's strategic plan. To date, there have been allocations targeted for the ARPA fund use. One of our guiding principles is that we will use other federal dollars first, and so throughout this process, there have been times we plan to use ARPA dollars and then another type of funding became available, which is great, which meant that we could then reserve those dollars for other areas. To date, there's some dollars in the budget for the current year. There's an RFP request that's out right now for broadband services, and tonight we will award community grant dollars. There are lots of other activities happening. Many RFPs will soon come forth, and partnerships that we talked about in the previous board meeting at the work session that we'll be bringing forth that are with the city of Durham. Tonight, we will focus on the community RFPs. There are 7 categories that were in the RFP process to build capacity and technical assistance for child care services, expanding access to affordable child care, improving child and family social and emotional mental health for both children ages 0 to 12 as well as 13 to 24. Enrichment in our youth and recreational activities, building capacity for culturally affirming maternal health support, and the last category were investments to address crime intervention initiatives. The evaluation process included a review of the applications by Durham County staff, including internal and external subject matter experts. There were 5 groups that evaluated 75 applications, totaling $20.2 million. So although we had $10.4 million available in this round, there were almost twice as many applications that were submitted. The system for scoring was a rubric that we vetted last year this time and a model used by other entities across the country. The contracts The proposals were looked at from many lenses, including capacity to move forward with the projects. If this was the first time an entity was requesting money at this level, we gauged their staff support to support it, to move it forward, their ability to sustain funding beyond the ARPA dollars. Equity was truly in the forefront of how we addressed the balance of proposals that were awarded and the fiscal management capacity. As the board moves forward with deliberation and towards approval, we will try to work with getting the contracts moved forward as quickly as possible. Time is of the essence, and some will begin as early as January 2023. U.S. Treasury has quite a few steps involved when dealing with subsidiary grantees, and so we have to do a couple of steps over the next few weeks to finish those processes, but we've done quite a bit of that in our evaluation. And then finally, the county will bolster infrastructure to support nonprofit entities to help ensure they are successful with project completion and adhere to all the controls that are there and reporting requirements. For some, this may be their first time experiencing going through or having federal dollars. And as you all know, this has been one of the most transformative infusion of dollars that has happened in this country in decades. And so there will be lots and lots of review. So we want to make sure that our partners are ready and that we support them and that it doesn't become too much or cumbersome. So we're excited that we can partner in that, and we talked a lot about that with the board and how we will move forward to make sure those support systems are in place. And so the recommendation is to fund 49 nonprofit entities, and I'll move through the various categories. The first one, capacity building and technical assistance for child care. The organizations that are selected will provide technical assistance in some way to build capacity to license child care sites. They will assist entities with strengthening their businesses, especially those that are recovering from the impacts of the pandemic. And so the funding will support family child care homes, sites that provide infant and toddler care, or sites that care for children whose families work non-traditional hours, and that total allocation is $1,050,000. The next category is expanding access to child care, affordable child care. This category will look at expanding care for children 0 to 5 through financial assistance or scholarship funding. The agencies that are selected, they are current providers of child care focused financial assistance. So this is an area that we know that will help many families as they try to meet the costs associated with child care. The next category is improving child and family social, emotional, and mental health, ages 0 to 12. The projects will expand culturally affirming and trauma-informed supports that will help our children or young people ages 0 to 12 and their families. Organizations will focus on the promotion of social, emotional, and mental health and positive childhood experiences, on strengthening protective factors that prevent adverse childhood experiences or respond to those adverse childhood experiences through different supports. They will also support in other areas as well. And we had a category that focused on our younger population as well as those who are in that 13 to 24 category as well. And that amount was at $1.1 million. And so the next category is the youth initiatives and enrichment opportunities. You will find that there were many proposals in this area that we funded. And there was a focus on academic support as well as areas that help the general well-being of youth, whether it was sports and recreation, arts, or other kinds of areas. We had a very broad approach in how the dollars could be used, because we know there are many different areas in which youth could use support, and families as they are recovering from the pandemic, and they're trying to help ensure that the children and youth have the right support systems. The next category was related to the capacity building for culturally affirming and maternal health support. And this funding scaled current efforts. Individuals or entities had to be existing nonprofits or organizations that were performing these types of services. This will allow them to scale at larger areas. Infant mortality is a very important priority of this board and has been for some time. There will be coordination between our public health departments and others to make sure there's integration of these activities. And the selected entities may aid families, including essential family supplies, the full spectrum of doula care, lactation support, group or individual peer support, education, and resource navigation. And the last category was allocated to crime intervention initiatives. The funding will scale, and I'm sorry, this is the wrong narrative here, but this was supposed to show the crime interventions information, and by era, it has the wrong narrative, but the dollars will support initiatives that address crime interventions and support the community in various ways. And so with that, we had $680,000 with 4 entities selected. The next steps with ARPA Community Grant Fund Awards includes recommendations that will be approved by the board at this meeting. Upon approval, staff will communicate award levels to nonprofit entities and begin the contract negotiations process. That will hopefully go pretty quickly, but we imagine that with the sheer number, it may take a little bit more time into January, but we will start that process as early as tomorrow. We will recommend that the board also have partner organizations to assist us with some of the infrastructure development, where we will bring that proposal to the board in January on more details. We do have one partner organization, the Boys and Girls Club, that will help serve in the capacity as a fiscal agent. We are excited about their role, as well as in other capacities that they will assist us. And so, again, we'll have more conversation on that in January. The staff will continue to vet potentially jointly funded ILAs, interlocal agreements with the City of Durham. We know the board wants to move forward quickly. Again, we talked about some of these in more detail on last week. And we will bring recommendations in January and February with the goal of trying to also bring information about department-facilitated community initiatives, some additional ones, because there are some already that we're facilitating through the ARPA funds. And the intent is to finalize the remaining major RFP categories by March 2023. Although, as I've shared with you, this is a living document that you adopted. And as the dollars are expended, and if, for instance, other funds become available in a major way in some categories, we'll come back to the board and recommend that some shifting happens. We had in our department request of community-based type initiatives that were huge. I mean, over $100 million. And so there's lots of needs, especially when you look at water, sewer, and some of these other infrastructure areas that are high priority. So as we do the movement and watching too of other dollars, we'll work with the board to bring forth priorities that have been in place for some time. And that's all that I have. I know we spent a little bit more time on this last week, but welcome questions that you may have.
So I have a couple of questions. Claudia, families moving forward, that one, is it the rating? I was looking at the rating on that and the amount.
They had a small ask originally. They requested close to $26,000, and so we moved it up to $50,000. It is a smaller organization, and from a capacity perspective, we felt that number aligned with their infrastructure, but we also felt that we could build the capacity with some reasonableness. Because the challenge with this, everyone wants to allocate the dollars, but we're judged on the back end on results. And did we meet our targets? And so it is a balancing act of how many partner agencies that can be funded that required a lot of time with sort of building the capacity versus those that could hit the ground running. And striking that balance is somewhat of an art. The great thing about the board is as we move through this, because you've also prioritized some dollars that are within our fund balance reserves that could cover, that could also be used in some of these categories. As we work through it, we can determine if we need to shift the resources to a different funding source if an entity is not able to move as quickly as we originally planned with dollar usage. So that's gives some context for that one, but also sort of the spirit in how many of these were reviewed.
I'd like to continue to pay attention to that because we hear in the community that there's no place for family and kids that don't have, there's no shelter for family with children. So I'd like to continue to pay attention to that one. The other one that I had a question about is number 3. It said the address is Greensboro. Is that not a Durham organization?
Some entities, there are a few that may have a regional presence in another area, but they also have a Durham presence, so but I'll follow back up on that one.
That would be great, because I just noticed it was a Greensboro address. Hey, commissioners, you want to go ahead with your questions? Commissioner Long, go ahead.
Thank you, Carrington. First, thank you so much, Claudia, and your entire team. I was looking over, well, the binders you delivered were massive. So, and I know that wasn't even all of the work that you guys have put in. It was much, much larger than that. So just thank you for all of that and consolidating it and bringing it to us. I'm really excited about the project that we're funding. I just had a question about, some of the projects that, when you were reviewing may have seen like really great vision or like that they could be great projects for Durham County. Do you think there's any space for us in this next round of RFPs? I know they do this in the cities like participatory budgeting projects where like they provide some sort of like resources and support to individuals who are applying. I know we're limited on capacity and don't have a whole team like that, but if there's any way we can maybe partner with the city in their participatory budgeting process of like any individual who didn't get a grant or needs support in applying for the ARPA program, just like being able to build a better application to us?
That's a great point, Commissioner Lum. One of the challenges we do have is the sort of the work balance in that. 49 organizations are a lot. And especially organizations that will receive federal dollars, which is probably one of the most scrutinized dollars that one can receive. And so we will talk about that. We are partnering with the city quite a bit on some areas, and as we talked about the infrastructure to support the entities that we fund, what we want to do, and we're also going to work with Andy Miracle on that. As you know, that we do quite a bit of infrastructure conversations about the small business community, et cetera. And so we're also having some conversations. How do we do some of those models that we do with the business infrastructure for the nonprofits more formally? And to your point, because the challenge is we have the desire, it's just the capacity to do it, but we will have another conversation about that.
Can I just add to that, Claudia, and clarify for me? I think we did, though, have office hours.
Yes.
For those who were interested.
Yes, we certainly did. That's a great point. We had office hours. We had at least 5 virtual sections. And we were more available during that process than we were after the applications were turned in. And so lots of efforts happened to just clarify, and others may want to weigh in on that. But thank you, Dr. Sewell, for reminding me to mention that. But it was, I would say, a very robust process on the front side to make sure if there were any questions that we provided clarification and answers. We did FAQs. I think there were, we issued at least 5 of them, so that there was no sort of question about, there was a baseline that everyone came to the table with as far as the information and how it would be reviewed. What we also did was to take in consideration some organizations have professional grant writers. So of course they're going to sound and look that way. But you will note that many of the recipients, they are smaller organizations. It's the first time. And we took in consideration their output programmatically. And as a matter of fact, we sort of decoupled the review process in that the ability, the compliance, the fiscal piece, and another component, the strategic plan alignment, that was reviewed, but it was decoupled from looking at the program and the projects, because then one didn't have a prejudged opinion about that based on our assessment of their fiscal operations. Because if an entity had some areas that they needed to work through, and through the U.S. Treasury risk assessment, which they do have, that just means you put a little bit more arms around that entity so that they are available to be successful. And so that gives a little bit more context. So thank you, Dr. Sewell.
Commissioner Burns?
I'll be quick. Dr. Sewell kind of brought mine up a little bit, because I do know that you and your staff did take a great deal of time to meet with people where they were in the community, and then we had to stop some of that once the application, for obvious reasons. But I do just want to say thank you to the staff. It could not have been easy. For anybody who's watching at home, this was a yeoman's job. There are other people who watched us, look at our template, asked for our template when we were in Cabarrus County, because you have to take Treasury guidelines. I know I've said this before. You take Treasury guidelines, state guidelines, our local unified guidelines, and you have to place all that on top of each other. and then all that regulatory compliance on top of each other. And somehow you all came up with a beautiful template and were able to give out 49 opportunities. I just know how hard it is to look over a couple of grants, 49 for your staff. So first thing, if you need some support in your office, these are the times you need to ask for it. That's number one. Number two, I just want to say thank you because I feel like our community is going to be better off. I'm thankful for the staff that we set up a structure that made sense, that we broke it up. And I do want to just also emphasize yet again, this is a living document. So all this money has not been given out. So if next year, ladies, we want to move forward with putting some of this into housing, I think that that's something that we should talk about because that doesn't take away from all the work. I know y'all going to be ticked off if we do that, but those are some things that I would like to see. My only big question, and Claudia, I did call about some of the ones I had questions about. I did get a chance to talk to you, and you're right. Some people got great grant writers and their grant hogs ain't doing no work. You got other folks that don't know as much, but we see their output in the community is absolutely awesome. And how can we love up on them and maybe help them and be a fiscal agent to get some support? My big question is, I know we are working with the county, and this is too big of a job. I know the questions I'm about to ask is too big. When you look at the North Carolina Pandemic Recovery Office, we got billions in North Carolina. I think sometimes we just think about what we got in the county, in the city, and at the school board. But, there was a huge tranche given to the General Assembly, huge tranche given to DIT, huge tranche given to the governor's office and the General Assembly. So there are all these opportunities open. My assumption is people in good faith apply for multiple opportunities. It makes sense. And since these opportunities open at different times, close at different times, they were also probably awarded at different times. So what do we have in place right now to make sure, or to at least check that there's no duplication of benefits? Because what we don't find, Treasury will find. So i.e. we gave ABC $75,000 for a child care program. They got that same $100,000 from DHHS for the exact same grant application. So what mechanism do we have in place to make sure that we don't see that? And I know how hard that is because $8 billion came in, so it's hard.
That's a great question, and that's part of the follow-up that will happen as the next step. With confirming, one, does the entity still want to move forward with the grant opportunity from the county? We'll clarify other dollars that they have to make sure we don't have duplication of efforts because the same dollar can't be used for the same thing. And by, inadvertently, one may get confused, and so we'll make sure we are clear where they are, and if we need to repurpose or tweak, we'll work with them to do that. Because again, there's lots of resources coming down the pipeline. We've had conversations with the board about our own experience where we started down, especially with broadband, and then had to shift because the state had money or the feds had money. So we recognize that step in the process, and thanks for bringing that up. So during the risk assessment piece, we'll clarify other dollars that they'll be receiving either from the state or feds to make sure there aren't any duplicative efforts. I know especially with your hat from your other full-time job.
We all look good in black and white. We all look good in orange. We just don't look good in it every day. So I'm just
so that would be a part of the process. Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you. I just wanted to share, Commissioner Alam referenced the big notebooks that we received, and so just so the public can see, we don't
Close my door.
we don't do paper a lot these days, but I think I'm really glad that I hate to use all the paper, but I think this is important to have this, first of all, visual representation of the amount of work that has gone into this process so far. And I will say, I didn't think that I was going to read through this because I thought I would just look at the summaries, but I did actually go through it because it turned out it was just so fascinating to read about each of the proposals. And I first of all want to give a shout out to the staff for the questions that people were asked. The application itself was excellent. There were questions that were asked, like, tell us how this is going to benefit the community. Tell us about, what will happen if you don't get this money. Tell us about how you're going to actually do what you say you're going to do. Just really good questions. And I also want to commend everyone who did apply, because in reading the applications, I learned so much about the great work that people are doing in the community. And people put a tremendous amount of effort into these applications, and it is very apparent when you look through them. So just wanted to acknowledge that. The other thing I want to acknowledge just several things. Another one is that out of these 49 proposals, 47 of them are for children and youth, directly benefiting children and youth and babies. I mean, I think that is amazing. There were only 2 out of the 10.4 million that equaled about 450,000, and only 2 that were both for legal assistance that were clearly for adults. But the rest of them are investing directly in our families and our children, our youth. So kudos again. And I'm so excited to when we can actually see this impact in our community. So I hope one of my requests is that when we do a press release, we actually really list all of them and who's getting the funding. And I know we still have to do the contract part, but still, it's amazing. And I want to share that Commissioner Carter and I had a gift the other day. We happened to be in a meeting with one of the recipients, and it came up about how they applied, and I was really nervous. I said, well, I can look and see if you are proposed to get funding, but I can't guarantee that you are. And so I was really nervous when I was looking them up, because I wasn't sure if I was going to be bringing good news or bad news. And so then when I saw that they had gotten funded, and I said to them, hey, yeah, you got funded, and this is how much. Oh my gosh. Commissioner Carter can she can attest to this. Getting to see you all what that impact is when these organizations find out they got funded, it was absolute jubilation. And then also hearing them say, well, this is how we're going to leverage it, and we're going to do this, and afterwards we're going to be able to do that. And I thought also, wow, this is what we talked about, transformative investments. So in this one case, it was just a gift to be able to see that. So I just want to share that with the rest of the board, because of, we're going to see that impact many times over. One of the questions I did have, which I did discuss with the manager, was, one thing that came to mind when I was looking through this was there are some obvious linkages with a lot of these with Durham County staff leadership on things that they're working on, and also with initiatives that are happening. And I wonder, thoughts on how does that happen? So, for instance, all the things related to families, Javetta Whitfield over at DSS, who's going to be implementing, the Families First Prevention Act and Children First, the whole efforts to, keep families intact and give families support. Like, these resources could help her, or, our new refugee coordinator, right? So there were several things that related to refugees and immigrants. So are we going to do some linkages in that way?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Part of the beauty of the process, and I can have some of the others to weigh in, We elevated this to the highest level as far as involvement. Most of the GMs were involved, except we spared Deborah because because we were going through the bonds process. And so, and many of the department heads or their key managers were involved, especially on the human services side. There was representation from Department of Social Services, Mental Health with the Alliance. We had representation from Durham Public Schools as well. And the conversations, I think that was probably the greatest gift of the process, in that in our review, we were able to talk through areas that we could not only help leverage what the entity was trying to do or connect them in other areas. So as we go through the negotiation of the contracts, we have some areas that we will partner. Some contract focuses may be shifted slightly based on what we already know is happening, but it was a great framework, and we said, hey, we can pivot them in this other direction. And so, to your point, there will be lots of coordination because we don't want duplication. And we want an integrated approach that is truly transformative, which means we do have to do some coordinations with departments in other ways. But that's just the spirit of the departments already. We will be intentional with that as well.
Okay, well, great, because I think one key thing is who is going to be making, I think it's important, who is making the referral to these resources, right? We want to make sure that, I hope there'll be a lot of on-ramps to referrals and access, because some of the applications, it's very obvious who the partners are, like it's Durham Public Schools, or it's the Durham Housing Authority, or it's Student U. But we know that there are some, we don't want children to get left behind, and we don't want like the same kids to keep, we want to make sure that we are really reaching kids who we may overlook. So I just think the actual referral process, and that there are a lot of folks, it could be someone in cooperative extension or even at the library, that sees a child who has a need that may not be plugged in some other way. So I guess that was one thing that I just was on my mind. And the last comment I'll make, and then I'll be quiet, is that one of the things that didn't get funded here, which I know because it didn't fit in, but was really exciting for our future hopeful process around housing, was the Jubilee Home proposal, which is for housing for women who are justice involved, as to your point about women. And so I'm really hope that we will kind of move actually quickly on the housing stuff and not wait too long, because like they said in their proposal, they have 7 properties identified that they could renovate if they had the funding. So I think we have people in the community that are ready to do this work, who are the experts, and I hope that we'll move quickly, at least on the housing piece. Thank you.
Commissioner Carter. I felt like this was such a high energy topic at our work session, and tonight I feel a little lower energy myself, but maybe that's because it's nighttime. Everybody's comments were really, really good, I think, and I don't have much more to add. I do want to, emphasize again the gratitude to our staff for intentionally designing a framework that matched up with our board's priorities so well, and the strategic plan, but really connected with what I think our priorities are. And it was very fun to see this unfold. So we had the framework, we had the scoring system that was also designed to be sure we selected programs that aligned with our priorities. And then to look at the ones that scored the highest and were selected. And it's very exciting to see everything that's going to be happening by way of our community partners that will address our, our priorities, everything from child care to mental health, children up to age 24, the youth enrichment activities, the culturally affirming maternal health care that, we've talked so much about. And I also thought it was really exciting to see new partners on these lists. We've seen some familiar faces that we love, but we have some new partners too, that it's really going to be great to, enable, them through funding to really rebuild in their own communities. So I just wanted to say that. And, I look forward to the next phase. We have, how many, 30 million more to go still? I don't.
We have quite a bit to move forward.
We still have more money.
But we're much further along than you may think.
I think
in January, we will talk more further about it.
The most exciting thing about this is we're pushing $10 million out into the community to 49, organizations who want to partner with us to make Durham County a wonderful place to live for everybody. And as you said, Wendy, working primarily through our children and our anyway, thanks to staff for such a solid process. And like I say, it's exciting to see it line up with what we have said are important to us as a board. It worked. It feels like it really worked.
Well, Claudia, I too want to say thank you and the staff, because this has been a mountain of work, and we all know that, with the feds changing the rules in the middle of the stream and, trying to make sure that we're following the regulations. I know that it's been a mountain of work for the staff, and I just want to say thank you. And I too, Commissioner Jacobs, I was at a presentation last night of The Lion King. And the kids, oh my God, the kids were so incredible. That performance, and they are going to be one of our recipients of funding. And I just sit there and I couldn't stay in my seat. I kept jumping up and clapping. But they were extraordinary. And one of the things that happened at the end was the fathers, the dads went up on stage and they did a little performance. And what we were told is for the daughters to be involved, the dads have to be there. And that was just amazing to see the dads participating with them. So what I said to them is they got to do a performance for the board. We've got to see them perform. So they said they would do that. A couple of things, and it has to do with housing and my conversation with the mayor. I hope that whatever we do around that, we are working together with the city, because the mayor is trying to make sure that we are doing things together collaboratively with that. The other thing is that we're having conversations around Park and Rec. We haven't gotten to the meat of that yet. We've just been talking about how we can bring these two, the city and the county, together in the things that we're funding around Parks and Rec. And that conversation will be happening. Black maternal health or maternal health, that is a huge conversation that I am so glad that I see that that's being funded. And there's some other pieces of that we'll be having conversation about later to keep on supporting families around maternal health and what's happening in that arena. So there's a lot. Staff, you are doing a lot, and there's a lot more to do. So thank you so much. Are there any other comments from commissioners? Not. Anything else for you, Claudia?
No, I just want to just thank my colleagues. We all are so committed, but saying yes to big binders like that is an extra commitment.
Yeah, we
but
all,
it is.
I don't want the public to know we all got one of those, got
That's
two
right,
of those.
but we're it's so great to live in Durham and have so many nonprofit partners and other entities that desire to make the community even better. So again, thanks to my colleagues, those in the county manager's office, the budget office, finance, legal, especially, and those who were on the committees. Because of all of them, we had a very robust and rich process that will help guide us as we help bring other thoughts to the board for consideration. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now I need a motion to approve the recommendation.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the recommendations for our proposals totaling $10,383,139.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second to approve the recommendations. We need a roll call by the clerk.
Commissioner Alam.
Aye.
Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. Recommendations for offer has been approved. Okay, now we're down to boards and commissions. Did I give you mine? Here it is. Hey there, while we're waiting, are you ready? You need a minute? Are you ready? Okay.
Good evening. The board has been tasked with appointing members to several boards. Starting with the first one, the City County Appearance Commission. We have one vacant position, an at-large position, and the board has appointed Charles Simpson to that position. Next, we have the Durham Open Space and Trails Commission. We have 3 vacant positions here, 2 at-large and 1 Mangum Township position. The board has appointed Lois Ballin to the at-large position, Steve Cohen to the at-large position, and Deborah Lukin to the Mangum Township position. Finally, we have Farmland Protection Advisory Board, where we have 1 vacant position here, and the board has appointed Talmadge Layton to that position. That concludes all of the appointments.
Thank you, Attorney Williamson. And I just want to say congratulations to all the people, all the citizens that were appointed. We appreciate you being willing to serve. We couldn't get all the work that we get done without you, so thank you. Monica, I have a quick question that I missed in one of the items that we approved. Just some correction in the language. Can I just give that to you? Do we, later, would you have to go back and do anything with it? I can just give you that correction.
Correct. You can just give me the.
Okay. All right. So, commissioners, that ends public meeting tonight. And thank the public for being here and listening. We have a closed session, and the board is requested to adjourn to closed session to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body, including agreement on a tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by the public body in negotiations pursuant to GS 143-318.11A4. I will obtain a motion to go into a closed session.
I move that we adjourn into closed session for the reasons stated.
It's been moved and properly second. Clerk?
Commissioner
call.
Alam.
Aye.
Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter. Vice Chair Jacobs.
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye. We are in closed session. discussion, give direction to staff. No decision has to be made. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Been moved and properly second. Roll call.
Commissioner Alam,
Aye.
Commissioner Burns, Commissioner Carter, Vice Chair Jacobs,
Aye.
Chair Howerton.
Aye, we are adjourned.